A temptation when you're starting out on the habit formation journey is to go from zero to hero, to start with a very inconsistent morning routine and to try and do 4 hours each morning. That's unlikely to be successful. I've tried it myself and it didn't really work. For a long time, I had this very ambitious morning routine where I wanted to do half an hour of meditation. I wanted to go for a long run. I wanted to do some journaling. I wanted to learn some Chinese, all these different things that added up to 3 hours. I did it once in about 6 months. Typically, I would do about 15 minutes of those activities and I would feel bad each day. It turns out that psychology of feeling like I'm not really measuring up each day isn't so good for actually wanting to do those activities. What I found better is to start really small. There's a fair bit of research around this. If you read Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg or Atomic Habits by James Clear, they both talk about that same thing of starting with some habits that are so easy that you almost can't say no to them. What I did for myself personally is I took that 3-hour morning routine and I really distilled it down to the things that were core to it. And I took each activity. For example, I wanted to eventually be doing 45 minutes of running every day. But at that stage in January 2022, I wasn't very consistent with it, even though I have been very consistent with running in the past. Recently, I've got busy with work and I was fit enough to go and do 45 minutes. That wasn't really a problem. It was just making the time in my schedule, getting used to it. I didn't have that pattern lined up yet. However, I did have time in my schedule for a 5-minute run. 5 minutes is absolutely ridiculous. By the time I get out the door, I'm spending more time putting my running clothes on and I probably didn't need to have a shower after just running for 5 minutes, but just lacing up, getting out the door, the logistics of it almost take more than 5 minutes. So it was crazy, but I did that. Every morning I went out for a 5-minute run and I got back and I felt, wow, that was easy. I wanted to do more. Then the next week I upped it to 7 minutes. I progressively added time until I got to about half an hour. And that felt like a really good amount of time. I felt quite proud of myself. It took me 6 months to get there, but it was sustainable that I've been able to get used to running that far. It didn't feel like a big deal anymore. Whereas if I'd gone from barely doing 5 minutes per day and then immediately upped the ante to half an hour every day, it would have felt too difficult. But gradually increasing it over time felt okay. And it meant I could figure out how to rearrange my schedule. I could change the time I went to bed so that when I went from 5 minutes to 7 minutes of running, I just went to bed 2 minutes earlier and it wasn't a big struggle. I'd encourage you to try the same thing. It's really worked quite well for me. At the start of the year, I was doing a 15-minute morning routine where I was doing basically 5 minutes of running, 5 minutes of yoga, and 5 minutes of meditation. I've built that up, so now I'm doing more like half an hour of meditation. I'm doing a 35-minute run. I'm doing 40 minutes of HIIT, 10 minutes of yoga. All up, it's about 3 hours of habit activities. But it wasn't there from the beginning. It was something that I had to build it up over time so that I would get comfortable with it. I think that's the way for building sustainable habits. And I did it with the help of Focus Bear as well. I set up Focus Bear initially with the 15-minute morning routine, and I gradually went in there and I jacked it up a little bit at a time, added a few extra activities at a time. Week by week, I increased the amount that I was doing. And because it was incremental and gradual, it didn't feel like a struggle. And because I had the assistance where I had the app intervening for me and preventing me from lapsing into the bad habits that I had around checking emails or reading the news first thing, I had much more edifying activities to do first thing in the morning. Hope you can give that a try yourself as well. Design your ideal morning routine in the Focus Bear habit editing section, which we'll cover in a subsequent video.